welcome to DRUMSHEE Days, starring Maura Logue and David Eisen.
Hello, Nora Gallagher here back with ye again, and I'm glad to see ye back too. We're on our way to DRUMSHEE again, that wee hidden gem in the heart of Donegal. And tonight's story from the Dry Dance Hall is the story of the Merry Widows. Nan Coyle and Nebla Mulhern, or as we like to refer to them as the Merry Widows, would make their presence felt every Saturday night at our Dry Dance Hall. Well, I'm telling you, they were some pair, that pair. For they were at the beginning and end of all parish business, and they were on every parish committee. Oh, the young ones avoided them to avoid a morality lecture, and there wasn't much of a welcome for them every Saturday night because of their sanctified airs. You see, now that they were widows, they had an elevated status, and it had gone to their heads and their fancy hairdos. I used to dread them coming into me in the cloakroom. Do you know, that turned me stomach sour, the pair of them. And there was often I had to have gulps of milk and magnesia just to calm myself after they were finished with me, lecturing me and criticising. I'll tell you, there were some pair, yon pair. But on this particular night, I remember it was June of 58. I was on duty, and I could see the pair of them coming towards me to the cloakroom. Now, Mary, they certainly weren't on this night. And them yapping away 19 to the dozen, there was something up, and there was a fussiness on the pair of them that I hadn't seen. I braced myself for them coming towards me, and I overheard Nan say to Nabla, "Well, if that councillor thinks that giving a donation to the vestry carpet floor fund for Father Maloney's comfort will see him in good stead, well, he has another thing coming. And if he thinks that being a second cousin twice removed of Father Maloney's is going to help him, well, he hasn't met us yet." Then she sees me looking at her, and she scolds me and says, "What are you doing idling there, Nora Gallagher? Have you nothing better to do than listening to private conversations? Here, take these coats and look after them well. Do not hang them on the hooks, hang them on the hangers, Nora Gallagher, hangers." They scrutinised me, and they watched me until I took their two coats, and just as I was about to hang them on the rail, does a Nabla say, "Nora Gallagher, do not hang our coats there, not beside Cassie Johnny John's flea-ridden coat. Oh, put them far away from that contamination." Oh, I did as I was told. And then I looked at Nan, and she was glaring at me. And says she to me, "Nora Gallagher, what under God have you got in your cheeks? What's that red streak in your... is that rouge you're wearing? Nabla, is that rouge that Nora Gallagher's wearing?" "It is indeed," says Nabla. "My advice to you, girl, is to take that off immediately. Your mother would not be impressed with that makeup." I nodded, because I didn't want to add fuel to fire, but I had my fingers crossed behind my back. and you all know what that means. Then Nabla launches at me again. Nora Gallagher, did your mother get her Irish Messenger magazines? She hasn't paid for at least 3. Now I shall be up tomorrow afternoon to collect her arrears. The Holy Fathers in Africa depend on our subscriptions to help the starving babies in Biafra. I nodded at what she said, and I didn't say anything because I was blushing. Luckily, they were on a mission that night, and it wasn't missionary mission, I don't think. So they left me alone. Thank God, because I was blushing, and the reason I was blushing was, do you know what we used for homemade rouge in the 50s? We used the ink of the cover of the Irish Holy Messenger. Sure, it was that bright red, and a wee damp dab of it would give a great streak to the cheek. And it set like cement, so you were set for the night. And it would be applied always in the ladies' toilets of the dry dance hall, not before. If that pair had known that I was using the Irish Holy Magazine for my rouge, I would have been excommunicated. I watched the pair of them as they made their way into that dance hall. All gabbing away they were, hats on, gloves on, and the 2 handbags, geared like they were military weapons. They were on a mission, all right, this pair, and I was going to keep a tight eye on them. I was going to find out what they were up to. They usually stood, you know, at the middle of the floor, where they could keep an eye on everybody. Oh, they were some pair. They would smile at all the bachelors, and they would smile at all the widowers. They wouldn't be smiling now at the women. And all they gave the young ones was looks of disdain, seeing how short their skirts were. Oh yeah, they were always on a moral mission, the merry widows. I watched them as the Strabane Boys Band were about to play the first set of the night. And all were ready on the dance floor, waiting for them to begin. All the girls laughing away, some of the boys joking around there on the other side of the hall, keeping an eye out for the talent. And they would watch all. And the Strabane Boys Band would strike up the first dance.
They say that things in life are free, but you can tell it to the birds and the bees. I want money. That's what I want. I want the money. That's what I want. Loving gives me a thrill, but you know that don't pay my bills. I want money. That's what I want. I want money. That's what I want. I want that money. I want that money. I want that money.
I thought to myself, you know, maybe this pair are on a romantic mission tonight. They were all dolled up, and I watched them in the hall, looking around them for any potential romantic proposals. You see, in those days, a widow was worth a lot, you know. And if you were savvy, and if you were a good businesswoman, you could end up pretty well off. Because some of the women around our parts would marry second or a third time to gain a good personal profit. There was a widow down our way when I was a wee one. She was some fun, Mary Ellen. And I remember I would go up to visit Mary Ellen, and when I was about 14, Mary Ellen says to me, "What age are you now, Nora Gallagher?" "Oh, I'm 14 now, Mary Ellen." "And you're not married yet? Ah, girl, get a move on. You should be married by now. Look at me. I put 2 of them in the grave before me. And I'm well taken care of and well catered for. Marry, young girl, and you can build up your finances nicely." I think that the merry widows had the same attitude to marriage and widowhood. They were savvy businesswomen, the pair of them. So they must have been on a lookout for a new romance. I thought to myself, God help any man that marries either of them. Because he may marry one, but he'll have the other one to put up with as well, for they're glued that tight together. Oh yeah. I kept a wee tight eye on them. And when the raffle tickets were being sold, I took a bundle to sell so that I could rove around and find out where they were. I remember I found them down in the supper room. So you could hardly swing a cat down in yon supper room, so I could hear everything. There were the 2 of them, and they had each a letter in their gloved hand. And they were scrutinising these letters. And they looked to me, the 2 letters, to be quite identical, but I walked by them and I could see them looking at them very intently. And I remember a song that the Strabane boys were playing at the time was that song, Love Letters. And I thought, that's what they're at. They must be looking at love letters.
Well, I remember, Jay, that we passed our time away writing love letters in the sand. How you laughed when I cried, and I watched that swirling tide wash away those love letters in the sand. You made a vow to always be true, but now that vow means nothing to you. And how you laughed when I cried as I watched that swirling tide wash away our love letters, wash away our love letters in the sand.
I heard Nan saying to Nabla, "I've finished my tea, Nabla. Have you finished your tea yet?" Nabla nods. So they're ready for action. They were making their way back up to the dance floor. They must have been going out for a dance, I thought. Then Nan says, "Now, Nabla, when that councillor comes through that door, we make sure we nab him before he gets up to Father Maloney on the stage. Right?" Nabla again nods. And I watched the two of them making their way back onto that dance floor. After the set, I remember Father Maloney takes to the stage to make an announcement. God, but Father Maloney loved making the announcements. He announced that a certain councillor, Sean Mohan, would be arriving into the hall at any minute, and that he hoped that we would all give them a big, big welcome. He said that Councillor Sean Mohan was going to be given a generous gift to the parish. He was going to offer a donation for the vestry floor carpet fund for Father Maloney's comfort, and that we should all give him a big clap when he comes in. The two widow women, who were still standing in the middle of the dance floor when everyone else had moved to the sides, said a big, loud, "Ha!" Father Maloney didn't know how to react to that, but he thought I'd better not say anything. You don't want to get into bad stead with the merry widows. He knew that. And if he insulted them or annoyed them, sure, they might stop giving their donations to the upkeep of the graveyard fund. And money was money, and money was needed. He was more on an economical mission himself that night rather than an ecumenical one. So he said nothing. I just called for the next dance, and the Strabane boys struck up again. My heavens, I thought to myself, these merry widows are moving up in the world. They've got notions now of moving into political circles, and why wouldn't they? Sure, those councillors, they have the expenses, they have the inside knowledge of all the land deals, and the brown envelopes float around as well. That's what it was like back then. Maybe it still is like that now, I don't know. So, moving up into political circles were they? Now for you. The next thing. The hall door opens, and in comes a wee roundy tweedledum of a man. The councillor Sean Mohan had arrived to DRUMSHEE Dry Dance Hall. Well, there he goes, striding up that hall like a puffed out turkey in November, and him smiling and waving at everybody there. Oh, aye, but once he got as far as the merry widows, they stopped his stride and they blocked his path, and Nan shouts out in a loud voice, "Councillor Mohan, we have a bone to pick with you, sir." Lord save us, Councillor Mohan didn't know what hit him. I could see that those feathers were getting a little ruffled, and I thought, now there's some excitement. The next thing, Nan takes the letter that I saw her reading in the supper room out of her handbag, and she waves it under the councillor's face. "Do you remember writing this letter, councillor?" "You answered an advertisement that I had in the Ireland's Own magazine in the Pen Friend section. And you and I have been corresponding for over 3 weeks now. But you kept putting off our first walking out date because you were so busy with your work, and so busy with your council meetings, and so busy with meetings about meetings that you hadn't time to come up and see me. But here you are now. And did you bother to contact me before you came here tonight? No. And did you even think of coming to see me tonight, sir? No. On your own mission, looking for votes, were you?" Nan stops, and she turns to Nabla, and she nods at Nabla, and Nabla opens the handbag and takes out the letter that she had in her hand, and she waves it under the councillor's face. "Councillor Mohan, here is a wooing letter that you wrote to me. And one day, Nan and I were comparing our love letters. And we found out, sir, that both letters were exactly the same. The same words, the same sentiment, the same length. The only difference being the name at the top of the letter. Nan on one, Nabla on the other. Mr. Counselor, what a schleeveen you are, hoodwinking two pious widows without a man to protect them, playing us both like fools. Were you trying to get more votes at the next local election, sir? Well, we don't think very kindly of that. And then she says to him, you may be a second cousin twice removed of Father Maloney's, but that won't save you here, sir. Hand over the donation that you are going to give to Father Maloney. Well, the councillor didn't know what to do, but he knew there was a big audience, and he didn't want to lose face. So he hands over the donation envelope. And Nan takes it. And she to him, now, councillor, there's a price to pay for what you've done. You've sullied our reputation, and we're not having it. So we're going to take this donation. Father Maloney, you can call it a charitable donation for the poor Biafran children in Africa. And you, councillor, can see it as conscience money. They had the £40, and Nabla then says, the Holy Fathers will be so impressed with Nan and I's contribution to the missions that no doubt we will get an article written about us in next week's Irish Messenger, or indeed a photograph and a big article about our generosity of spirit. And then the two of them burled the councillor round, and in front of everybody in that hall, they started to march him out of DRUMSHEE Dry Dance Hall. There were a few cheers, I remember. And indeed there was clapping from some of the women. Oh, these two moral wardens were taking this boy off to Conscience Jail.
There was a man named Johnny. He was full of blarney. He tried to beat the merry widows at their game. You know, he thought he'd live forever. He thought he was so clever. But they beat him at his game. He's in the jailhouse now. He's in the jailhouse now. You know, he never thought that he'd get caught. He's in the jailhouse now. He wrote a bunch of letters. He thought he was so clever. He tried to beat the bells of the ball. They stopped all his conniving. They stopped all of his jiving. They ran him right out of the hall. He's in the jailhouse now. He's in the jailhouse now. You know, he never thought that he'd get caught. He's in the jailhouse now. He's in that jailhouse now. Oh, those merry widows.
I ran off to the cloakroom because I knew the two merry widows would need their coats because they would be standing outside our dance hall giving them another lambasting. Nan took the coats and off they went out that door with that shamed councillor. I remember it was Ladies' Choice next. And there was a swirl of skirts and giggles of girls and them all rushing over to get a partner and nab one for Ladies' Choice. I would go into the cloakroom then to be on duty a wee bit earlier because after Ladies' Choice and the Strabane boys' last set, there'd be a few couples leaving the hall a bit early. You know, they'd come in separately, pretending they weren't together at all. I remember the lads would say something like, "Oh, I think I'll go home early tonight, Nora. I think it's going to rain." And I'd give them their coats and I'd smile. Did they think I was born yesterday? Curtain couples leaving the hall separately to meet up together outside for a wee court. And sure, they'd be needing their coats for the long walk down the long lane. If you played your cards right when you were a young lovebird, you could time it so that you and your wee partner, your wee date, could go outside and not be seen. Because during the national anthem, you see, Father Maloney would be stuck to the one spot in the hall. He wouldn't be able to patrol outside. Him always on the lookout for curtain couples. Those lovebirds are always ahead of the game. God love them. So, the councillor, looking for votes, didn't get many votes, I'd say, after that night. And you know this, Nan was right cheeky. Because just as the two of them walked out the door with the councillor, did Nan turn back to Father Maloney and say, "Father Maloney, I'm sure if you ask your second cousin twice removed, councillor here, he might arrange for one of his other paramours, because I'm sure we're not the only two that he conned. He might get one of his other women to knit you a pair of socks to keep your feet warm on the vestry floor flagstones." And she turned with a toss of the head and disappeared. You know, the councillor, he didn't get many votes in the local election. Because when the women at DRUMSHEE spread the word on his cheating ways, most of them voted for the other candidate to spite him. I'll tell you, they say a week is a long time in politics. But a short appearance at DRUMSHEE Dry Dance Hall can turn politics on its head. That's if you come in tow with the merry widows.
He thought he'd live forever. He thought he was so clever. Then he messed with the bells of the ball. They finished all of his conniving. Even while he was jiving, they rushed him right out of the hall. You know he's in the jailhouse now. He's in the jailhouse now. Well, he never thought that he'd get caught. He's in the jailhouse now.
So there for you. Oh, you'll be hearing more of the merry widows next week. So from myself and himself, We hope you can join us next Wednesday at 7 o'clock from the comfort of your own armchair. Slán agus Bannert.